And welcome to this focus session of the ECB. Today's topic is Eurosystem Collateral Management System. We are delighted to have you all connected this morning. My name is Aileen, and I'm here with a great team of colleagues, and we're going to try to guide you through today's session. We will do our best to take as many questions and make it as interactive as possible. So I just want to pull you through a few little, setups before we get going on the actual event. Some of you have joined us before, I know. And again, today we have a very full session. But today you may experience, so for the ones who are coming back, you may experience a little bit of a difference in today's setup. It's because we have moved to Teams webinars. This should hopefully facilitate that it will be much easier for many of you to join, because we're all very used to Teams now, and this functions exactly the same. But there's a few smaller things that are different, and one of them is the way you interact with us. It will be very close to the usual way, but they will be with the QR code. So now we're showing it on the screen. So I'll just invite you all to grab your little phones wherever you have them and then scan the QR code. This is going to come in very handy later on in today's session. So scan the QR code now. When you do that, you will see that you open up a browser, and in that browser, you can send questions to us. This will be the easiest way to interact with us throughout today's event. If you don't want to do this, or for some reason cannot, you can, of course, send us emails as normal to mip.events@ecb.europa.eu. So the very complicated, hard to remember email. Again, take a photo of this now and it's on the screen. We will be showing this back to you throughout the event to make sure that we can engage with you. A few more practical things before we move on. How can you else interact with us? You may notice that, just maybe one thing before we move to that, we're live streaming. Okay, so maybe you have a colleague that are pulling your arm saying, I can't access the webinar. That's because it's full. Okay, we have reached the max capacity of participant again today, but do not worry, we are live streaming, so you can scan this QR code as well, and that will open up the live stream on the ECB website, and you can follow the whole event there. So do not worry. So send your colleagues to the live stream if they also want to join but are unable to now because of the max capacity. And again, as always, do not worry. If somebody comes into your office with a cake and a coffee and you miss 5 minutes of the event, do not worry. The whole thing will be recorded, and we will post the recordings afterwards on the website. So you will be able to see all the sessions afterwards and watch them again. So in case you miss 5 minutes, no need to worry. Also, as always, all the slides will be available after the event as well. So that's just a little side remark. And then quickly back to how you interact with us. On the next slide, you will see the options that you can, as always, scan the QR code. Can we go back one slide, please? So you can, as always, scan the QR code and fill in the questions. If you are in the webinar, you will also have received this really handy email from last night. In that email, you should not delete this email. It has a lot of really good information. One of them is a link to the place where you ask questions. You can just click on this link, have it open in a browser next to you're watching us here, and then you can go there and post questions throughout the way. You will be able to raise your hand. We're not going to take any of the raised hands because it's really not doable when we're so many people in the session today. Then we'll be sitting here until Sunday evening. So we will only be taking questions in via the written option. So please send those questions in, and we will try to bundle them and take as many questions as possible. So, do that, please. Bombard us like you always do with the questions. We're really here to try to help you through the last few months of the ECMS project here. And then I just want to use the chance, because now I have you, to advertise a little bit about how you stay informed. You can follow us on our social media channels. This way is the easiest way for you to engage with us. Subscribe to the newsletter. Again, you can just scan the QR code and subscribe there. You can follow our LinkedIn group also on the screen now. And we're also still on Twitter. So you will have these options. This is the best way to follow us and see what's happening overall in payments and market infrastructure news in Europe. So do that. And I think that's it for me. I see a lot of people are now connected. So I just want to hand over and start the session moving into the super cool agenda we have on today. Lots of topics. So I want to give the floor to our first speaker, which is Dimitri Patan, who is the Deputy Director General of the ECB. I am happy to have you on board. Over to you, Dimitri.
Hi, good morning, Aline. So do you hear me well? Because with the new setup, I'm not sure. So you hear me well, and you can see me as well. Okay, that's fine. Okay,
exactly.
Good. Okay, good. Thank you. And good morning and welcome to everyone to this focus session on ECMS, so the Eurosystem Collateral Management System. Today we have more than 1,000 participants registered. I've seen the numbers that we are still a bit below the 1,000, but it's still a good number. Coming from every possible country in Europe and also from a very large number of institutions. And I must say I'm not surprised because I don't know if you mentioned it, Aline, already, but we are now less than 3 months from go live of ECMS. And I know that there is a lot of work being done on all sides. And I hope that this focus session will be useful from the perspective of giving you, fresh information on the status of the project. It is also a unique occasion for you to ask questions. Aline mentioned it already. It's a unique occasion to ask questions that you may have and that will help you getting better prepared for the go live on the 16th of June. This is the sixth focus session, probably the last before go live. The last one was in November last year. I could not make it, but I was told that it was very interactive. And so the message again here is, please don't hesitate to ask the questions. The team is here for, to try to answer them as best as possible. And I see in the chat that I have in parallel that the questions have started already. So I'm really hopeful and I trust that this will be interactive again today. Let me maybe give you some information on the project itself. As said already, we are now less than 3 months away from the scheduled go live on the 16th of June. The testing that is conducted by the central banks, we call it CBT for central bank testing, is now completed. We had a milestone in the project plan set on the 17th of January, and that milestone was reached successfully with an average coverage above 90% for all central banks. There is still a bit of testing activity going on, but it is focusing on retesting the last defects. But it's fair to say that the focus on the side of the central banks has now shifted fully to support you first with your tests, but also to get prepared and to secure the readiness for go live. On the software delivery, this weekend, so tomorrow, we will deploy the last software package before go live. This is not new software. It's a package that aims at fixing a number of defects that we have found through testing. But this means that after this deployment, the code will be frozen. So after this weekend, the code will be frozen, and we will actually apply stricter rules with the deployment, and we will deploy only those defect fixes that are absolutely critical for go live. The other defects that we may find will be moved to the first release after go live. And not later than yesterday, I had a meeting with the team, and we reached the conclusion that after the deployment of this weekend, we have 6 defects to be delivered still. So this will come in the coming days or weeks after the weekend. Of course, we may find a few more defects in the coming weeks, but the message I want to pass to you today is really that the situation is very well under control. We managed to follow these defects one by one and to have a good delivery logic for them. On the user testing, I was mentioning that the central bank testing was completed, but I see as well that on your side, on the side of the users, the testing has progressed also very well. Audren will in a second show you some graphs demonstrating that, the data that we collect from the monitoring that is in place. And of course, we see a very good progress on all sides. I would still encourage those that are lagging maybe a bit behind to still, continue with their efforts and their testing activity. We have 1 month left in principle, so the deadline for completing the user testing is set on the 22nd of April. This is formally marking the end of the testing for the users. Of course, you will still have the opportunity to continue testing later on, but this is the date by which we will draw a line from our perspective. One more word on the migration. A few weeks ago, we conducted an internal migration test called MT for migration test 12. And our purpose with this rehearsal was to make sure that all remaining issues that had been identified in previous rehearsals had probably been addressed. And this test was very successful. And now we are gearing up to the last rehearsal, which will be done with the users, and which is about to start in 10 days. So it starts on the 31st of March. And we are really confident that this will be going well. One word on the Market Infrastructure Board, so the MIB. The MIB is obviously monitoring very closely the progress with the project. Few weeks ago, we had an intermediate assessment of our go-no-go criteria for the go-live. We have in total 33 criteria to assess the readiness for go-live. And the conclusion that the MIB reached a couple of weeks ago was positive. So we are confident that those criteria will be achieved and that we can go live. Maybe I can spend a few seconds on the casting of today's session. Today we will start with Audren. Audren will walk us through the main milestones in the plan. She will also, as I said already, provide you with some statistics in terms of user readiness. Thereafter, we will have a deep dive on the testing activities. Bamini and Bobby will take care of that. And then last but not least, Anaïsa, and again, Bobby, will provide you with some insights on the migration workstream. Obviously, the migration workstream is now growing in importance. And as said, the last rehearsal will start in about 10 days from now. So it's an important topic for the focus session today. And again, the value of the focus session is when it is interactive. So again, don't refrain from asking, as explained by Eileen. So we have the good channels for you to push your questions to us. And then the team will do their best to answer the questions on the fly. I wish you a fruitful session today. I will be listening in the background, but I will also come back at the end with some closing words. And as always, and as already mentioned by Eileen, this event is recorded, and all the slides that you will see today will be available soon on our website. And with that, I'm done. Eileen, so back to you, and again, have a good discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitri. Super. So now we are ready and off going. So as Dimitri said, a heavy program ahead of us today. We already have, just scanning the code again, but we're already seeing, like Dimitri said, questions coming in. So yes, we will be watching these. A lot of the ones you're asking, we will come back to. So you're keen, and this is great to see. And then the first one session we want to go into is really the timeline and the key milestones ahead. So I want to bring in Audren So over to you, and off we go.
Thank you, Eileen. Good morning, everyone. I will just wait for the slide to be displayed, if we can go directly. Thank you, colleagues. So yes, my name is Audrey, and if we go to the next slide, thank you. So for this one, the project status update. So Dimitri gave already an update, but here I want to again indicate, compared to November when we did the last focus session, there has been a good progress made with more actors reporting an improvement in their testing status. What is key for us is that there is a code freeze coming. There will be a big deployment this weekend. So after this code freeze, it will be only critical changes which will be deployed. This is for the big reason of we want to do non-regression testing. So it's quite key for us. It's really a milestone for the project. And the biggest milestone will be this go-no-go decision for 16th of May. I hope this time it's a go decision. And be sure that as soon as there is a decision, we will publish potentially also on the 16th of May, if not 17th of May. But this is a key milestone for us. And it's quite close. Even if the go-live is in 3 months, 16th of May, it's almost tomorrow for us. If we go to the next slide, here you have seen this slide already. We didn't change at all our approach. So as mentioned by Dimitri, we have 33 criteria. The criteria are either related to product readiness. It's about the software delivery, software quality, the different testing phases, system performance and stability. We use different metrics for this purpose. We also look at the Eurosystem readiness, about the actors and are they ready to use ECMS in production. We also monitor the operational readiness as well as the migration readiness. And here as well for migration, we are looking at different aspects, the connectivity setup and execution in production, the pre-migration activities, and then the preparation week and migration weekend. So for all the different criteria, we have metrics, and Dimitri mentioned it, the last assessment we did in February is that we have a positive trend. So we are quite confident, but we will do again a new assessment soon before the one for the go live to ensure that we are on track and all the actions are put in place in case of needs. On the next slide, I want here again, taking opportunity of this focus session with all of you to raise the importance of the counterparty readiness. So we have this UTSU, user testing status update, which is done on a monthly basis. And so your NCB are all the time chasing you to get a status update, to know where do you stand with your testing campaign, what is the status. So please take opportunity to convey your message, to convey your status, because for us it's quite key to know what is ongoing. We don't want to use only incident and bug fixes as a metric. We also want to see if the fact there is no incident, it's because the testing are going well. So this is something we want to ask you to do it. It's still a monthly basis. There is one upcoming. So for end of March status, your NCB will contact you. So please take opportunity to give your status. And you can see on the slide 18, the latest update we had from end of February. And here you can see it's the positive trend. So I've said that most of the actors are now on track. So it's quite positive. You can see on the CSD side, compare. So we put the figures we had last time. So you can see that now from 7 CSD reporting yellow, it's only 4, which means they have minor issues, but they're on track. For what we call closely monitored actors, so these are the critical counterparty or actors involved in the Eurosystem Collateral Management. In November, we were having 9, which were red. Now it's only 2. We are more green. Before it was only 9, now it's 22. So you can see good progress. And also before we were having 7 not responding. Now it's only 4. So for the 4 remaining one, we are chasing our NCB to ensure that for this reporting end of March, we will get a full status update. And same for what we call the RMA, regularly monitored actors. So here as well, you have a number of counterparties. You can see here as well an update with more green, less gray, less red. So it's really giving us confidence on the Eurosystem readiness in view of the ECMS go live. What we have been doing in the past month since November. So we have worked a lot on the incident and defects. My colleagues Bobby and Bamini will give an update on this, but this is the result. This positive status is due to this good work done by everyone. There has been a general improvement in the software stability, which has allowed all this effort to be focused on the few remaining issues. And there were also these GUI performance issues in the past. Now it has been resolved. So now all the conditions are in place for you to finalize your testing activity in the coming weeks. So this is why we did this focus session now in March. This is the last call to do it. Please take opportunity, because you will see in the next slide the key milestones upcoming. And here what you can see, end of pre-migration activities. This is about production environment. I know Annalisa will come back on this, but here it's just to keep in mind, we are the 21st of March, end of the pre-migration activities, it's 30th of March, so it's soon. Then it's all about operational, contractual, and legal adaptations. With ECMS, you may have to adapt your contractual documents, so please ensure it's done. Operational, it's your procedure, locally internal procedures, organization. Please ensure you are up to date, that it has been done, that everything is in place. End of user testing in 1 month, 22nd of April. So we go live in 3 months, but in 1 month, this is the formal end of the user testing. So 22nd of April. So it's quite soon. That's why you have 1 month to do all this remaining testing you have to do to ensure you do your non-reg. And then I did mention it already. Here you can still see we put it go, no go, but this time I hope it's really a go decision, 16th of May. So we go live on 16th of June after the migration weekend. You can see on the next slide with the project timeline, because I'm giving the key milestones, but of course you all know when we work on the project, there are different things ongoing. And here you can see, I will not go into the details of each little things you can see, but what you can see here, it's really all the work which has been done in the past months to ensure we can go live in June. It has been a work done a bit everywhere. It's about platform stability and system performance. So on the infra, there has been a lot of work with what is called NFT, non-functional testing. We have done a lot of campaign to ensure that we are fine. Testing activities, the colleagues will come with this, but what I can say, it's the live timing. We are now 21st of March. This is the last day of the third live timing, meaning that we are really now using the operational day as in production to ensure that we are ready. There is a new one coming in April, but it's ongoing. Migration, it has been mentioned by Dimitri. Annalisa will come back to this. We did a migration test in February in EAC, so internal tests. There will be a new one coming. So also here, you have to ensure that you are ready to take part of this upcoming migration test 13. And in production, activities are already ongoing. We did resume it beginning of January. I said end of March, this is the end of pre-migration activity. Activity in production will resume in June. And for the selected project milestone at the bottom, you can see we do monthly reporting to MIB and Governance Council. I could say that to the MIB, I even wonder if it's not bi-weekly. It's really a close monitoring that we have put in place. And so MIB will take a decision ahead of Governance Council, of course. So beginning of May, we will have already our internal go-no-go decision. So to ensure that everything is ready for the Governance Council decision. That being said, here what I want to communicate again, we have a web page for the ECMS project with a lot of information which is available. It's quite often updated. You have different information. What I can say, it's since 1st of November, we did an update to the user testing and migration and readiness documentation to reflect the new go-live dates. There has been updated user handbook for counterparties, updated access right matrix for you to select the role when you configure your users. Also update testing condition document every 2 weeks. That now change indicate what has been changed with the latest deployment. And coming soon, we are working on it. This is an updated credit claim exchange information and also the updated business rules. So this will be soon available, and we'll keep updating this web page, providing all information which can be useful for you, for the counterparties and the CSTs. And I think that on my side, I reached the end of this presentation. So I just want to mention again, key milestone, this is really upcoming. This is a migration test and end of user testing. So this is a perfect timing to ask you for the upcoming 4 weeks to really be active and do a lot and report in the O2. So like this, we can really see that you are ready for 16th of June.
Thank you, Audryn. Very nice. So that's a good start. We see that the time span is becoming shorter and shorter, like you say. So there's really only a month to go of full speed testing. So here again, the QR code. So scan the code if you want to ask Audryn questions. I hope Audryn will be staying with us for the rest of the event. Yes, nodding, very good. So I just want to thank you for now for presenting the timeline and the key milestones ahead. And then we're going to move into the testing. We're getting a few questions already there on the testing, but let's have Bobby and Bamini speak first, and then we will pick up on the questions we have already received. So thank you to Audryn, and over to Bobby and Bamini.
Thanks a lot, Ellen. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So first of all, for the user testing, I just want to reiterate what Dimitri and Audryn said, everyone. The 22nd of April is the formal end of testing. This means that all of the information that we have gathered up to that date will be used as a feed into our MIB 104 decision. It does not mean that you stop testing. It really means that you can use the test environment. It will remain open to everyone. So please continue to test. What we see at the moment is very high traffic in the test environment. This is very, very good indeed. And thanks everyone for your conscientiousness. What we need now is for the next period is for any of you who have some defects that have been solved, we would ask you to please retest them now, and so that we can close these off before this formal end of testing, so that we can inform the Market Infrastructure Board that these have indeed been solved. So if you have anything on your desk that you raised to the NCB that has been deployed, please now, this is the time to test it. It would be very, very much appreciated. I think that there is also today, we have the cutoff for the fundamental test cases. I hope that everyone has already submitted this. If you have not, speak to your NCB. I'm sure they will allow you an extra day or two, but please get these fundamental test cases passed and please submit them to your NCB so that we can see that everyone is up to date on these test cases. Bamini is going to go through all of the domains. If you remember from our November session, what was very important was we had just completed a large deployment of defects related to corporate actions. This was very intensively tested by you, and now this domain is really what we would classify as stable. We then moved into November and December, where we stabilized the credit claims area, and this was really also very successful deployments, good retesting on your part, and now it's another domain that we assess as stable. What we're working on at the moment, we have, as Audryn said, the non-functional side, where we're looking at all of these non-functional elements. And there was a special task force set up related to GUI performance, and we saw that there were really some good outcomes from this GUI performance task force for the users. We have in one domain, which is not related to the users, but in the interest of openness, we'll let you know, there is a system called C2D, which is a monetary policy system, and ECMS delivers a file to this one, and we are working on the integration of this. It's not affecting you, but just to let you know, what is an open domain for you at the moment is the multi-pooling in relation to credit claims. Bamini will go through this in her slide. We have also the migration work stream as well, and Isa will speak about the importance of our migration test 13. This is what we call a migration weekend dress rehearsal. We will really be following the full migration process, the go-live process in a test from the cradle to the maturity. So we will go the whole way through the cycle, and it's a very important test, but we can be very confident, as Dimitri said, migration test 12 was a good result. So we have confidence that our migration test 13 will now show that we are completely ready to go live. But Anissa will go through that with you. All I would say for production is please don't lose sight of the tasks that you have. And Isa will go through them, for example, setting up of users, things like this. These are very important tasks that need to be done. Even now at the moment, there are production tasks to be done. So please stick to your timeline and please get them done in time. So this is it really from me. I would ask Bamini now to go through the domains with you. And of course, we'll look in the chat, and anything that you wish to ask us, we will try and answer during this session.
Okay, then good morning, everyone. Thanks, Bobby. Welcome you all to the focus session from my side as well. So, so in this slide, we will spend a few minutes in this slide. So here, I would be able to give you the current status for the different functional domain where you are, performing your testing. So as you can see in the first top on this slide, we have already reached good testing progress. And here in the Eurosystem, the NCB colleagues have done the assessment and assessed and confirmed that these domains, what you see on the top of the slide, like access rights, reference data, marketable assets, cash as collateral, and message subscription, these modules and domains have been assessed as stable. In addition, what Bobby mentioned about the corporate action, really the situation is very, very good now after big deployments was done at the end of and beginning of this year, end of last year, beginning of this year. So there was a campaign on the corporate action that was held up until end of February. So the critical issues that were identified for after this campaign, they were also fixed. The critical, the go live blocker issues. Yeah, so they were also fixed on the 8th of March. So now I also understand that there are some specific campaigns done by the NCB colleagues. So this fix was done primarily to help you out and to move forward and complete the testing as such for the corporate action module. I actually jumped directly to corporate action, but if I go back to the first part, so billing. So here for the billing, so we've done the monthly cycle of testing up until March, and the improvement is really good there, and we have one more cycle to be tested in May. We will not be able to do it in April because of the parallel migration testing that would be happening, which is also a critical testing phase for us. So we focus now on the next cycle in May for billing. And now to the next item on the contingency. So on the econs 2. So here again we did testing with the community. Before we did it once, and then identified issues were all fixed, and we did a specific one with the NCB colleagues, and now we have the next testing on the econs coming up on Monday, so the 24th of March, and the time slot would be from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So what we would do is basically during this window on the 24th of March from 10 to 12, the econs mode will be activated, and then you can test when the functionalities, whatever you want to test when the contingency mode is activated. You can try to, send instructions and see what is expected to happen. Yeah, it's happening or not. So this is it. So this is the window that you can test. And then after 2 o'clock, we come back to the normal mode. Normal mode means the normal ECMS mode. And then you can also check if things are being processed or messages are being processed in the way you are expected to in the normal mode. So this is the objective of the test that we are going to do on the 24th of March for the econs. And we would do a similar testing on the 8th of April. Yeah, so the test window, the econs will be activated in a particular window, but here we will also align with other target services and do an operational test. Yeah, so this is also another aspect that we would add on the 8th of April. And these are the ones that we have currently planned. And in case of need, for the future, if we need to do further tests, we can see. Let's first see the outcome of these two tests, and if needed, we can schedule another one in May after the migration test. So I spoke about the corporate action already.
Sorry, Valerie, just for contingency, there was also a question in the chat about after we go live. So what I would say here is that there will be econs 2 tests on a regular basis after we go live, so that everyone there will be plenty of chance to test the econs 2. We do it we do it already in target 2, of course, but there will be also opportunities to test econs 2 with the ECMS. This will happen on a regular basis. I couldn't tell you how regular it will be, but our colleagues will certainly have tests very shortly after go live, and then on a regular basis, it will these such operation related tests will take place.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bobby.
Yeah. Thanks, Bobby. That's on contingency, and then I covered already on the corporate action. And credit claims, yeah, exactly as Bobby also mentioned, and things have improved in the last months. So January and February, there were really big releases happening to fix the critical issues. It's one thing, and also to stabilize the whole module. So this was done, and the testing from the traffic, message traffic, we could also see the testing is progressing in the right direction for the credit claims, and now we have still a few more critical issues to be fixed, which is what we are planning and to be resolved tomorrow. So the 22nd of March, the last code freeze deployment. Okay. So that's so please continue the testing on the credit claims after our deployment tomorrow. And if any critical issues are identified, we will definitely keep tracking it and try to fix it soon as possible. Yeah. And then to the GCCP. So here, this module also, as when we discussed in the last focus session, it was assessed already as stable, except for one point on the pool lock unlock. So here again, so we had a focused assessment and monitoring on this aspect, and now after very good effort from the colleagues, so we are now stable. We have stabilized this topic as well. So as from beginning of March, there are no new issues identified in this pool lock unlock. So nevertheless, since it's a very critical element, we still continue to monitor, and in case we identified anything new, then actions will be put in place, and the issues will be handled with high priority. Okay. And that's on the GCCP. And then on the monetary policy, so open market operation. So campaign ongoing, and most of the operations matured and settled by today. Yeah. So we have a couple of more will be maturing on Monday, but the major part of the campaign is finishing today. So we will assess the outcome of it, and then of course try to fix it. The new one, if we have identified anything, we will try to fix it, because as you can see, the next campaign, the end-to-end testing for the OMOs that we have planned it in April. So from the 9th until 22nd of April, the scope, you can see in another slide also the scope and the objective of this. But so we finish it today, and we focus on the issues and try to get this fixed for the next one. But all in all, from the last campaign to this campaign, the situation is improved. Yeah, we still the objective for the April one is to do an end-to-end smooth one, so without any manual intervention or anything. So that's the objective for the April one, and we are working towards that objective. Then on the multi-pooling. So here the testing of the functionality. So on the multi-pooling of CC credit claims, so was delayed. The start of the testing of this multi-pooling of credit claims was delayed, but now we have the solutions delivered, and we have two more functionality which was remaining to be delivered. This will also be delivered and tomorrow, so you can start that testing also from Monday, the 24th of March. That's on multi-pooling of credit claims alone, but multi-pooling of marketable assets and the OMO, the transfers of OMOs, and these modules, the testing is ongoing. It started already from the beginning of this year, and it's ongoing and on schedule.
There's no defined campaign here for multi-pooling family. They should test for themselves.
Yes.
Yeah?
Exactly.
Okay, understood.
So that's on the multi-pooling, and then on the pool position and projection. So here, so in the last focus session, what the progress that we had achieved for this module was not a lot. So we had put some effort there to handle the critical issues, and now overall the progress is really good. The generation of the full position report has been stabilized, and the testing is now progressing smoothly, and it is back on track. Yeah. So that's the good news for pool position and projection. And then the reference data to T2S and T tri-party. So here, as you can see, the end-to-end testing has started from January, and on the provision of prices and eligible assets are going on fine, but we still have a few issues on the closed links, which we are now focusing and trying to get that handled and resolved soon. So you can also test it before the end of the user testing, official end of user testing phase. So that's what we are focusing on, the reference data topic. And last but one, statements and reports. So here, so C2D usage of collateral was mentioned by Bobby. This also comes under this module, but then that's just purely an NCB specific testing. But apart from that, the stake holdings and statement of transactions, so the testing the testing results have been positive, and we received good feedback, and we've achieved good progress for this statements holding and transaction, which is applicable for the counterparties as well. And the transversal one, so the operational day. So here we faced some issues, stability issues in the beginning of this year, but a lot of effort has been put there to stabilize this operational day. And we every time we apply the live timing schedule, so we've also implemented further stabilization measures, and now in the last one that's finishing today, as Lauren mentioned, so that is the last window, third window, it's finishing today. And here in this window also the operation day processing has been smooth. But yeah, we have to really do the assessment on this live timing window and see if we have to put further any improvements or further measures have to be taken. We would have to do the assessment, and we do take actions on this before our next live timing schedule, which would start from the 7th of April. Yeah, so this is it. So on the operational day, and the last one is on the NRO. So here the NRO has been activated in the U-test environment for you to test in all the 6 screens. Yeah, and then now we also have the new version, new GST SuperSign desktop software version. We have it now, version 8. So please, here we recommend you to install the new version and NRO with this new version before the end of testing phase. So that's all I had to say on the different functional modules, and we can go to the next slide. So yeah, so here, I mean, I don't have much to say, but this reflects the current status of where we stand for the different functional modules, the testing plan for the different functional modules. So we can.
I think, Bamini, there was a question about a corporate action testing campaign, but I think we finished with corporate action testing campaigns now. It's purely for the users to test with their CSDs themselves, isn't it?
Yes.
Now there are 1 or 2 defects, not many, to be deployed. It's really
for the go live blocker. Yeah, exactly.
So everyone should test on their own and on the corporate actions, liaising with their NCB. So there was a question: do we have dates for corporate action testing? You can test immediately, but there is no more. We had our final kind of defined corporate action testing campaign.
Yeah, indeed. So then we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So here you see the key milestone dates. So as you can see, the first one is on the live timing testing window. So the third one is finishing today, and then we have the next one on starting from the 7th April. And then, I mean, we will see if need be, then we might, and if any request comes, if we can also schedule one in May. But right now, this is what we have planned up until the formal end of user testing phase. So, and in this window from the 7th and the 25th of April, in this window, then, it's a live timing. So the production schedule will be applied and the operational day schedule will be applied. So here you can test all the functional modules, do a regression testing, and to ensure that things are all working as you expect to be in prod. Yeah. So, and that's the objective of this last live timing window, which is coming soon as well. And then the next critical milestone, the deadline was also mentioned by Bobby. It's the fundamental test cases. It's today. So colleagues, so please, submit your outcome of these fundamental test cases to your NCB. We will collect all this information next week as part of the end of March reporting. So we will also collect this information. So please submit your feedback on the outcome of these fundamental test cases to your national service test. And the next one, I think we've already clarified about this, is software code freeze. The last software big release deployment, it's happening tomorrow, and after that it's primarily focusing only on the go live critical issues. Yeah. So that's another big milestone. And so Isa will talk more about the migration testing activities and windows. So, but then from 31st of March and then on the 4th of April, and this is when the MT13 will be happening. And the next also...
Sorry, Bhamini. So then, just to be clear to everyone, the software code freeze means that we will have a very, very limited deployment of software after this point.
Yes.
And then we will be doing the migration test 13 on the go live software. So this is very important for everybody to know. And this is how we will progress then. And then we move into, as Bhamini will tell you, our uninterrupted testing window.
Exactly. So right after the migration testing is finished, when we have the environment back for the functional testing or user testing, then we will start with the uninterrupted testing window, which would last for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And here, you can see, I will go through also the objective in the next slide. But the last milestone message, or the key milestone, is 22nd of April. That's the formal end, but not the actual end of testing. So the environment is going to be available after the 22nd of March. So if you can continue the testing, but this testing outcome as of 22nd of April would be used for the further assessment and discussions on the content. So these are all the key milestones, and I would, in the next slide, I would give you more information on the uninterrupted testing window. So here, as you can see, the objective, as Bobby mentioned, from after 22nd, the software changes will be really minimal, focusing only on the critical one. Why is because to do a proper regression test in this window of 3 weeks and give you the opportunity to do a regression testing without any major deployment. And of course, we would, if we identify critical one, we would definitely deliver this on an exceptional basis after the code freeze on the 22nd of March. So as I said, why we are doing all these things is primarily to give you this 3 weeks window of uninterrupted testing window for you to do the regression test and ensure that things are all working as you expect to be, as close as to be for the production. Yeah. And so in the NCBs will nominate for the critical defects, as we mentioned. The critical, we will focus only on the critical defects. So here we will also definitely take the support from our NCB colleagues, and they would nominate to us these defects, and then we will fix these in this window after 22nd of March. And based on the input provided by the NCBs and ECB, of course, we will also do an assessment and ensure, that it's not creating any new regression issues, ensure that it is really a critical one, that it is a must to have for the go live. So we will also do such an assessment at our side, the ECB side, and then finally authorize the software change. So these are all the measures that we are going to put in place primarily to give you a clean, uninterrupted testing window. Yeah, so that's it. That's all I have to say here on this slide and on this testing window. And I think that's it. So the last slide is more on the user testing. Also, no, we have on the OMO. So as I said, so the next campaign is starting from the 9th. It's scheduled as of now, start from the 9th until 22nd of April. It's also during the window, uninterrupted testing window. We do this campaign in this window primarily to replicate what would be in production. So we would be connecting end-to-end with the top platform, and then get the tenders and operations, and then test test these scope, what you see in the right side of the slide. So this is the scope that we would be testing in this campaign from 9 till 22nd of April. So that's the main objective is also to perform the non-regression test. So we will share further details with your NCB on the different dates, full test plan for this campaign. So you will receive this also from your NCBs soon. And that's it. That's on the campaigns. So this is the one that's planned. And the last one is, of course, now we go to the last user testing slide. And here, as you can see, then we have updated the documents and published now the latest version to align with the new dates. One thing that you have to take note is the testing conditions document. So here, this is the one that we publish on a fortnightly basis and try to we try to give you the latest information on any upcoming testing campaign, the dates and the scope, and so all this information will be available in this document. And of course, the open issues relevant for you for functional module will also be provided in this testing conditions document. So please have a look at this for your test planning as well. That's it. That's the last slide on the user testing. So,
okay, great.
Give it back to you, Elliot.
Yeah. So maybe just one thing on my side, everyone. I'd just like to reiterate: we had a deployment on the 8th of March. We have a large deployment tomorrow. Please, if any of you have a defect on your desk that was deployed, please, accelerate the retesting of this. It will really help us, and it will allow us to go into our period of uninterrupted testing, knowing that these defects have been solved. So please, I ask you all to check and see if you have anything that can be retested.
Super. So thank you, Bhamini. We're just giving you a little bit of a breather here. You've been going through a lot of slides. We have a lot of questions coming in, but Bobby, I think we've managed to cover all of them that are addressed to Bhamini for this one now. So you're good for a little break. There might come some in later, but we will keep you off track here. But I want to maybe bring, there's a number of questions coming in on the migration, but you just have to be a little bit patient on that one that's coming. But we have a few questions also where I want to bring back Audrey. So if you're still here, I just want to bring you in on a few questions that were more for you. So if we can move you back in for a second, that would be great. We still have Audrey with us. Yes, there you are. Let me just get you on the screen. There you are. So there's a few questions for you. There are some on the documentation and then also a bit on the surveys that you presented at the beginning. So over to you.
Indeed, I think I will start with the one on the survey. So some of you reacted on the fact that I mentioned we still have some not reporting. This is the gray things where I was really asking to push. Maybe here to give a bit more of information. This is a monthly status reporting. So from time to time, some are reporting and some not. So it's not all the same. We are not reporting. So it can change a bit. And what I can indicate that the NCBs are already in close contact with those who are not responding. So what we know is that the NCBs are in contact with the critical actors to ensure testing completion, and they will ensure that for the upcoming reporting, this will be reflected in the O2. Because for time to time, what is happening is that you may be in contact with your NCB, but then the O2 is quite a quick process. You just have few days and it's not updating, and it's like that. But the NCBs are really paying attention that all the critical actors are under close monitoring. There is a majority coming from the same country. So it's also why for this RMA, I said RMA, where we have a lot of not responding. It's from the same country, and the NCB is confident, telling us that these are non-critical actors, and they were expecting more of this, that some of them will not reply. So the NCB is confident, and for them it will not be a risk for the project. So we are fine. I was just taking the opportunity of today's focus session to ask all of you to take opportunity. It's more an opportunity for you doing this status update to tell us if you are yellow or if you are ready. So it's more, this is a tool to communicate, basically. Then indeed, there was also questions about the documentation. I did mention that we have ECMS on the ECB website with a number of documentation. What I can indicate, this is a key one. This is the upcoming document for the credit claims. In the past, it was only about using the proprietary message we have for the 8-way actors. But now it will be something really, like the update is crazy. Honestly, the colleagues have done a huge work. It's now under review with the NCB. So it should be published end of next week. And now this document is really providing a lot of details on the different statuses, on the life cycle of the credit claim in the ECMS. So it's also relevant for all these sectors which were only using the youth-way, so only using the GUI. And this document was something put with priority for us because, you know, all know credit claims is quite a specific collateral. And that's why now it's something soon will be available for you in case you still want to have clarity on the credit claims. We also will publish an updated user handbook of the ECMS beginning of May. The update is mainly coming from the fact that during testing activities, each time the colleagues detect a misalignment, they open a ticket just for us to know it's an editorial ticket. So like this, we can keep track and we can take opportunity of testing activity to also ensure that the documentation is aligned with the software. So this is what is foreseen in terms of documentation.
Thank you, Audrey. Super. So we have those questions in the box as well. And then I think we will move on to the presentation on migration. So I want to bring back in Isa and Bobby to talk about preparing for migration. So now finally people can get those questions answered that they were asking at the very beginning. So Anissa, over to you. We don't hear you. We just need to there you
Yes.
are. Perfect.
I was struggling with the mouse to unmute myself. Okay, good morning, everyone. I hope you can hear me quite clearly. I see Eileen nodding, so that's a good sign. Very well. So for the migration, today what we would like to cover is where we are, both for the production activities, which is now quite pressing, as we could see from the comments, but also from what we heard throughout this morning from Dimitri and the colleagues. And then also have a quick look into the testing and the next test and what that means to you. I don't know, Bobby, if you want to do any other introduction, otherwise I would start.
No, you can go, Anissa, I think. Yeah. But what we'll do is we did get a lot of questions. So anytime you can integrate one, feel free. And then at the end, yeah, I'll look for ones that we might have missed. Yeah.
Indeed. Thank you. Then let's start. I think here for the migration status, where are we? And this is the picture that you know the best, I would assume, from the migration side. It's been with us since the first focus session. It might be a bit confusing because on the last session, the picture looked exactly the same. So what happened that in all of these months, and we are still on the same spot, somewhere between step 5 and step 6. So just a quick reminder here, last time we had executed all of these activities up to the pre-migration, which is including the counterparty connectivity and the counterparty setup of its own reference data and testing the user's access. And we would be somewhere waiting for the preparation week to start. Since we had the change of the go live date, it meant that we had to extend a little bit this pre-migration phase. We came up last time, we explained this a little bit, this pre-migration phase 2, which in essence is just an extension allowing the counterparties to still be connected, specifically throughout March, to finish any of the setup they would need for the users, create new users, eliminate old users, and also for the NCBs to keep the reference data update. So we are about the same step. We are 1 week away to finish the pre-migration, as you will see in the next slides. And after that, we have the preparation week and the migration weekend, so the last 2 steps before the go live. So this is in our journey where we are. And I think on the next slide, we have a few details of what we've been up to in up to this point. So maybe we can go to the next one, please. There we go. So we are 1 week away from finishing or closing this pre-migration phase 2. This is for the production environment. The end of the phase is planned for the 28th of March, which is next week, Friday. So this phase was an addition, as I mentioned, from the decision to change the go live date. And the idea here is to have the NCBs keeping their reference data up to date, closer to the go live. Besides that, so this is what we've been busying ourselves with in prod. And then for the testing, we had this one test in EAC, this test 12, during February, as Dimitri mentioned, is in his starting speech. This test did not involve the counterparties because it is in the EAC environment, but the test was quite successful in terms of our goals, which were to validate that we could still execute and use the migration tools as expected. And we are currently preparing to execute his last migration test and rest rehearsal, which is test 13. We will start on the 28th of March. As you will see, it's the preparation of the environment. The test itself starts on the 31st of March, and the test will be in the U-test environment. So counterparty may or not be involved. We have more slides on that later. And on the bottom, you have just a quick timeline if you would to put all of the prods and the testing activities related to the migration. This is how it would look like in terms of the dates and the timeline from now until the go live. So now moving towards, I think, more concrete things. And we would like to start with the production activities, because then this helps explain what will happen for the migration test 13. So if we can go here to the migration activities in prod. So current activities, pre-migration phase 2 is concluding. What should the counterparty do? So I think this is quite linked to the questions we got in the chat about when can users be created or not. So I'll try to address that. So what should the counterparty do? We have 1 week to finish, but during this phase, you should have ensured, and you can still do it, that you can connect to the ECMS. This is in U2A. Even though the testing of the connectivity of a counterparty, both in U2A and A2A, is done during the connectivity phase, and this took place in May 2024. We did have, during the pre-migration, you can always access in U2A, so you can always test the U2A connectivity for A2A connectivity, if applicable for your counterparty. We had additional windows where you could test this A2A connectivity, mostly if you are a new counterparty or if you had issues previously where you could not have tested this successfully, or for example, if you had big changes in your configuration that would require this, you could liaise with your NCB and test in one of these slots. So we had one slot during the pre-migration phase 1, which took place in September last year. And now we had another window that actually took place last week and this week in the prod environment to test your A2A users connectivity. And we have 1 week buffer. So actually by next week, you can still execute this A2A connectivity test if needed, if you haven't done so. This should be done. But we've also monitored in September until September the connectivity, and at the time we could see that we had reached 100% connectivity for NCBs, CSTs, TPAs, and the regularly monitored actors, like the most important actors for the NCBs in this case. This was all 100% until September last year. And on the closely monitored actors, for the closely monitored actors, we had 100%, and for the regularly monitored, so the RMAs, we had 96% of connectivity. Hence the decision that now in this extension of the pre-migration, U2A access is possible throughout the month of March, but the A2A connectivity, we had a 2-week window only to test this, which is now extended to make 3 weeks until end of next week. So first of all, you can still ensure that you can connect to the ECMS. You should also ensure that all of your users, this means all of them, all of the ones that you will need for the go-live phase, are correctly set up. This means the users are created. Either new ones that you had to add, they are now added, and old ones are deleted, and they have the correct access rights. And you should also verify that the data is correct, meaning that whatever you sent to your NCB as part of the registration form is correct and as expected. One example is the message subscription. So this is quite important to finish by the end of the phase, which is next Friday, so 28th of March. And also this is because the counterparty user access will be temporarily removed. This doesn't affect the configuration of the users. This is just a kind of a block that we will make into the system so that you cannot access closely after the 28th of March, and this will be there until the go live. This is to avoid problems with the system, that you would do any activities that would put at risk the stabilization of the environment for the actual go live. So this is why it is in place, and overall we also need to ensure other preparations, and so this is the last opportunity for your counterparty to execute the steps above. So please really do make sure that by the end of next week you have done all of these tasks that you need. In regards to, so this I think answers some of the questions we had, like when should your users be set up in production? They should have already been set up. If you haven't done it, do it until like next week. When is the production access tested? It should have already been tested. If you have not done it, do it by end of next week. And in terms of, there was also a question regarding the setup of a colleague for user testing. This can be done as far as your administrator user has access to ECMS U-Test. And so throughout April, you can still do that, except for during the migration test, where we mimic what we have in production, and therefore counterparty user is also blocked during this week from the 31st of March until the 6th of April. I hope I covered all of those questions, and I think we can move. So this is the current activities. All of this is by next week. So really get a move on. And on the next slide, we have what happens next. So step 6 and step 7. After this pre-migration phase 2 is concluded, we'll move to those steps. Of course, they're a bit later down in June. But what are exactly, or how exactly are those steps executed? So NCBs and the ECMS operator are the key actors for the activities at ECMS level. So anything that has to happen within the ECMS, these are the main actors. Of course, we will have the support of the CSTs and the TPAs, and you will see a bit later on how exactly. And there is no actually mandatory activity to be executed by the counterparties in ECMS. And the counterparty participation is mostly defined by the NCBs at the level of the community, which activities the counterparty participation is needed or not, inside of the ECMS or even at the local CMS. But the goal is for sure to prepare the ECMS for the first day of the operations, and so the NCBs will be migrating the collateral and the credit positions from their local CMS to the ECMS. the positions that are, if you would prefer, Friday end of day, but actually Monday or at the start of the day. So anything that is, we take into account the assets that are eligible, for example, for Monday, not for Friday, etc. So that's the minimal difference, but it's the Friday positions in the end. So I think we can now move to the next slide. We have a bit of details. So this is overall what you should account. There's not really an activity specific for you. Everything or most of the things are done by the NCB and the ECMS operator. But how exactly does it look like? I think we in the past have not gone to this level of detail, but now that we're approaching production, it's maybe you're starting to get more questions. So hopefully this will help you clarify a little bit what happens, even though you're not directly involved. There are some things where you as a counterparty might have something to do, or you will have to, have some consequences of the preparation. So the step 6, which is the preparation weeks, they will take place from the 2nd to the 3rd of June, 2025. We try to very high level here put the activity groups that you will see. This could be one activity or multiple activities within the group. But it starts with the preparation of the prod environment, as we mentioned. Here, for example, one of the activities is a snapshot of the environment before we actually start migrating data. So it's a contingency measure, for example. Then we have a bit of time to complete any updates of the parties' reference data. This is mostly on the NCB side. So, for example, if they detected that there is a message subscription for a counterparty that needs to be updated, they have, and they can still do this until the preparation weeks. So it's not like, the data is 100% frozen from now on the 28th of March until June. The NCB still has the opportunity to update this data if needed. Same goes for the ECMS operator with, a system parameter, for example. We have the processing of the Eurosystem data, the reception and the processing of this Eurosystem data. And here we are referring to, for example, the list of eligible assets or the prices. All of these we receive in ECMS from other systems, and we will be receiving them in prod from the start of the preparation week. This is just to make sure we have enough time to deal with any situations of the configuration of the connectivity between the systems, for example. We have then the provision of marketable assets reference data to CRDM and the TPAs. We start doing that also from the preparation week. We have the migration of the credit claims reference data by the NCBs. And this is one of the tasks where I think there is a direct impact on the counterparties. Because following that, the NCBs will provide the new counterparty, the new credit claim ID to the counterparties. And then there is also on the side of the NCB, they have to prepare the local CMS for the migration. So a bit of details on these last two activities because they are of relevance for you as counterparties. So actually on Friday, the 13th of June afternoon, the migration of the credit claims is done until Wednesday. And then on Thursday, there is a reconciliation of this migration. So on Friday, after the NCBs have reconciled the data, they will provide to the counterparties the new credit claim ID. What is this? Upon the migration of the credit claims to the ECMS, ECMS will attribute or allocate a credit claim ID. Even if the credit claim is not new, it is new to the ECMS. So there will be a new ID, a new identifier. So what the NCBs will do is provide to the counterparties a reconciliation between the old ID, so the ID that was used in the local CMS or on the counterparty system, versus the credit claim ID created by the ECMS and the credit claim ID that you will be using moving forward. So this will be done on Friday, the 13th of June. Of course, it takes place outside of the ECMS, but it's a direct consequence of the activities executed by the NCB in ECMS, and it impacts you as a counterparty. Then also until Friday evening, for sure, the NCBs need to prepare the local CMS, so the collateral management system, so that the collateral and credit positions can be migrated to the ECMS. So here there are very different activities, but for example, NCBs need to ensure that any pending instruction on Friday gets cancelled, that the cutoffs are implemented, or freezing periods. We've talked about the freezing periods a bit in the past, and we have the slides again here later on to remind you of that. But these actions may or not involve the counterparties directly or indirectly. You will be affected by those. So it's important to liaise with your NCB, and your NCBs will liaise with you to make you aware of all of these cutoffs, that some of them are applied at national level. So you will have this information from your NCB. Once we finish the preparation week, we move to the migration weekend, which is step 7, and I think we have it on the next slide. Indeed. So here we have more details to share, so that's why you don't see any text on the slide, but we have a slide afterwards to cover that. But what are these migration weekend activities in the end? So we start actually the weekend on the Friday. Before the end of the day, we start preparing the environment mid-afternoon. And then we take off until Sunday, where hopefully the weekend activities are finished somewhere around 1 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that would mean that we have prepared the environment for the go live. Which activities are we talking about? So first of all, we have to prepare the environment for the migration weekend activities. We have the migration of the collateral positions, then we move to the migration of the credit positions. We have a pool valuation. We calculate and send the credit lines to CLM. We have the corporate action events migration, and we have the counterparty access restore, and then the penny tests. And when all of this is done, let's say we have achieved the migration conclusion. As you can see, all of these activities from start to finish, they will be executed by the NCB with the support of the ECMS operator, the 4CB, and also with the support of the CST for the case of the corporate action event migration, and from the TPA for the tripartite positions migration. So a few details that are important for you to know or to be aware of. We have them on the next slide. Collateral positions. So as I mentioned, collateral positions, there are different kinds of collateral, so it includes all of these different types of collateral. All of these positions will be migrated to the ECMS. In terms of the tri-party transactions, this will be migrated to the ECMS with the TPA support. What is important to notice is that, for example, in these collateral positions, we would not include any position that is not settled by Friday, 13th of June. So, for example, any pending instruction or any instruction that is pending settlement in T2S, for example, or that has been instructed in your local CMS for a future date, all of these are not migrated to the ECMS. So, for example, if you would have instructed something for a future date, I don't know, the 16th of June even, which is the go live date of the ECMS, this is not migrated to the ECMS. So you would need to do this re-instruction in ECMS because this will not take place. So one of the activities in preparation for the migration weekend is, for example, for your NCB to follow up with you or to execute themselves if it's possible to cancel these instructions because they cannot be migrated. Also, to prepare for the weekend and to prepare to allow these collateral positions to be migrated, the NCB will apply these cutoffs. One of them is for the registration of new credit claims, but also for the demobilization of marketable assets, both in a domestic and a cross-border context. We have more on the cutoffs on the next slide, so I will hold on for that on the next one. On the corporate action events, what's important for you to know? The migration is executed with the support of the CSTs when possible. Otherwise, the NCBs will themselves create the corporate action events in ECMS. More important than that is to know that any event that has a record date prior to the ECMS go live and the payment date after the ECMS go live, so any corporate action event that fits these two categories, will not be migrated and cannot be migrated to the ECMS. Similarly, elective events, unfortunately, cannot be migrated to the ECMS. We are using the functionalities that exist in ECMS that will be used by you all after the production, after the go live. However, because of that, we are also limited because not always these functionalities allow a migration exercise. So in these particular cases, a record date prior to the ECMS go live with the payment date after the ECMS go live, and the elective events cannot be migrated. For the first case, it's very basic. As I mentioned, we will migrate the collateral positions based on Friday end of day. So we don't have positions in ECMS prior to the ECMS go live. So the ECMS would never know the position at the time of the record date if this record date is, inferior to the ECMS go live date. So that's the reason behind it. But then what does this mean exactly for you? If these events cannot be migrated, this is a reason why perhaps your NCB will request you to substitute or demobilize any marketable asset affected by core protection events in advance of the ECMS go live. It could be for these reasons or other reasons, but it could happen that your NCB will request this of you. So this is also, it makes it much simpler from a migration standpoint if we don't have to migrate core protection events. So this would be one of the reasons behind these requests on your, if your NCB requested this of you. Counterparty access, restore, and the penny test. What are we talking about here? So as I mentioned, counterparty user access will be blocked or removed at the end of the pre-migration phase, so after 28th of March. And then you will only be restored at the go live weekend somewhere. So this is scheduled for Sunday at 7 a.m. If all of the activities are concluded as expected, we would restore your access. Then at national level, your NCB may request you, counterparty, to perform some tests on Sunday already. So in advance of the go live Monday, they might request you to access the ECMS, for example, or generate a pool position report, or even anticipate a marketable asset mobilization instruction that you already had for Monday. They might ask you to do it on Sunday to ensure that it's working as expected. So this is a type of penny test that can ask you, but this is decided at national level. So it may be that your NCB does not request you to participate or does not envisage this for its community. So it's really up to the NCB, and you will have direct instructions from your NCB regarding your participation in the migration weekend through this penny test or not. And if not, then your access is then done on Monday after the migration. So that's why it's important and to notice. So from these, what we wanted to clarify to you is indeed there is no direct activity expected of you during the preparation week or the migration weekend or mandatory activity. There will be things that will be asked of you in your local CMS directly by your NCB in preparation of the migration weekend. And it will also be the case, possibly, that in case your NCB decides that there should be a penny test for the community, that they ask you to participate on Sunday. And that would be directly in ECMS. Otherwise, there is nothing, an activity expected of you, like migrating the collateral or the credit positions, for example. This is not something that we expect the counterparties to do themselves. This is important because then it defines what actually is expected of you for test 13. So we wanted to bring here some extra details that we did not present in the past so that the image is also clearer for you. If we move to the next slide. These are the freezing periods and the cutoffs. I think we've covered these exact slides in the past, but they are important to know. Depending on the different types, we will have different cutoffs, and they can be either at the NCB level or Eurosystem level that they are applied. The onboarding of new counterparties, as we mentioned, is limited to, or we recommend that it's limited to the month of March. This is because, of course, we will block the access and we will be freezing the environment more or less so that we can prepare for production. NCBs will still have access, but that's for the maintenance of the data. Nevertheless, if new counterparties would be joining, this is an assessment done by the NCB, and they would need to present a plan, of course, and then we would need to assess when to provide a connectivity testing slot for this counterparty in U2A and A2A if needed. The reference data, as I mentioned, is hopefully frozen after the pre-migration. Nevertheless, updates can be made by the NCBs until the start of the migration weekend, so on the 13th of June. And ideally, changes to the account structure should be avoided. This is because it has an impact across NCB. So that's why it's a bit more sensitive than, for example, I don't know, changing an address or adding a user. These are minor compared to other changes. So the NCB still has the capacity to update the data until the go live. Credit claims registration. This is defined at NCB level. So at national level, your NCB will tell you what is the cutoff. But the recommendation is to prevent new credit claims from being registered as of Thursday, 12th of June, inclusive. So until Wednesday, fine. But after that, we would avoid registering new credit claims. This is because, as I mentioned, the migration of the credit claims happens on the preparation week until Wednesday. So trying to think back to dates, 11th of June. And then on the 12th of June, the NCBs are reconciling. So yeah, ideally we should avoid this also so that on Friday you receive the credit claim IDs. Otherwise, there is no possibility it's too close or too tight in terms of schedule for the NCB to provide this to you. Marketable asset instructions. Domestic instructions, there is a cutoff defined at NCB level. So here we will not, we cannot provide you the exact timing, but there should be a cutoff because, as we mentioned, by the end of the day, we should not have any pending instructions, or, you know, we should at all costs avoid even the worst case scenario, which is to have a matched instruction that is not settled, but it's also not cancelable if that's a word that is not, because it's matched. So that's why we should have cutoffs to make sure that by the end of the day, everything is settled and there is no pending instructions. So you should have a domestic cutoff defined by your NCB. But for CCBM instructions, of course, we apply a cutoff specifically on Friday, the 13th of June, that is applicable across the NCB. So it's the same. And we actually have some details for that on the next slide. So maybe we can go to the next one. So what are these freezing period and cutoff in the CCBM marketable asset instructions? So on Friday, the 13th of June at 12, there is a cutoff for the reception of counterparty instructions, so related to the cross-border assets in the home central bank collateral management system. So by 12, you should have sent to your NCB, your home central bank NCB, the instruction. By 12:30, your home central bank NCB needs to have sent, and it needs to be received by the cross-border, or the corresponding central bank needs to receive this message in their local CMS. So 12 for you, it's the limit for you to send this into your home central bank system. Then 12:30 is the limit for the home central bank to send this to the corresponding central bank system. And by 2, all instructions should be either settled, rejected, or cancelled in both the home and the corresponding central banks. This is quite important. So, as I mentioned, we cannot migrate pending instructions. We cannot migrate matched instructions. So it's really, really important that you take into consideration these cutoffs. This is the CCBM one, but also the domestic ones. So this is just a reminder because we have, of course, mentioned these already last time. So I think we can move now to the testing part, unless there is any. I will try to reply to the questions, I think, later, because I cannot still read and present at the same time to read 2 different things. Okay, for the migration test. So we went over the production because that's in the migration test, we are just reproducing or testing what we want to do in production. So now that you know a bit more about what is expected in production, you will better understand what is expected in the testing. We have the following tests still planned. So we have test 13 and we have test 14. Test 14 is optional and hopefully we will not need to trigger it. So that's why we have been referring to test 13 as our last test. It's a preparation week dress rehearsal and the migration weekend dress rehearsal. So we are going to execute the step 6 and the step 7. NCBs and TPAs are involved at the beginning of the test. So from the 31st of March to the 4th of April. And then on the weekend, which is the 4th of April to the 6th of April, Friday to Sunday, we have the NCBs, the CSTs, and the TPAs, and the counterparty's involvement, if defined so by the NCBs that you would participate in the penny test, then your involvement would be on the 6th of April, Sunday. Otherwise, there is no direct involvement except for anything that has to do with, preparation on the local CMS side. If your NCB is going to mimic these cutoffs or mimic these type of activities, then you might be involved. Otherwise not. It's a bit difficult to maybe execute these cutoffs and these type of activities in currently in testing, because you are testing in ECMS and not in the local CMS testing environment. So it might be a bit difficult to simulate, but maybe the NCPs will simulate with you the communication or these type of activities. So it really depends on what your NCB will define for the test. What's important to know overall is that every time before we have a migration test, we have to do preparations of the environment, because we have, for example, to delete the transactional data that already exists. We cannot have positions there to migrate positions. So we have to delete this type of data. So there are several steps of the preparation that we need to do. And because of that, we require at least 1 day for making this happen. So for test 13, this will be the 28th of March, which is next Friday. So next Friday, the 28th of March, you will not have access to the system anymore. And you should, and even if you can access, then you should avoid making any activities. It will not be possible to do any testing. So that will be happening on the 28th of March next week. If we activate test 14, then that's the 2nd of May, which is a Friday before the test starts. Also, after each migration test, we should evaluate if the migration or the consequences of the migration, if there was anything that is looking like it should not or is not correct because something that was done during the migration. This is also how we evaluate if the strategy is correct. So it's kind of mimicking the go live. This is the post migration. Usually for the tests, we do the 2 days after the migration weekend. For prod, we will be monitoring this for 1 week, but mostly for support of the operational teams and also for the reporting. But in the migration test is a bit more serious because it's useful for, as I mentioned, validating the strategy. So in test 13, this is Monday, the 7th of April and Tuesday, the 8th of April. For test 14, it would be the 12th and the 13th of May. However, for these tests, and as you could see, I think Bamini explained these, after the test 13, there will be an ORT happening in UTest, and there will be lifetiming periods. So actually, we are in like perfect conditions for mimicking what will happen after the migration in prod. So, and we have these on the next slide. There is a special request for counterparties on Monday morning, so Monday the 7th of April, to try and access ECMS, which we suspect will be the behavior also in prod, since you will all be curious to see if you have access to the ECMS and how it looks like, besides conducting your activities. So we want to try and mimic that a little bit as well. So there is here this reminder for you to try to do that. So this is overall the testing timeline, but then what does it mean for you, test 13? I think we explained very thoroughly, but we can go to the next slide where we have a bit of the information. Since you are not the key users or the key actors for the preparation week or the migration weekend, the main actors are indeed the NCBs and the 4CB with the CST and TPA support. So your involvement very much, and as I mentioned throughout the presentation, requires, it's basically or depends on what the NCB requires of you and of the community. So taking into consideration what will happen in prod, it is possible that you are involved on the following activities: the provision by the NCB to the counterparties of the reconciliation between the old and the new credit claim ID. Of course, this is only applicable for counterparties that have credit claim positions. Your NCB might ask you to access ECMS on Sunday morning at 7, following the reactivation of the counterparty users. But then again, this depends what your NCB decides at national level. And then also for the penny test on Sunday morning, this will depend if your NCB request is of you. Nevertheless, this does not depend on your NCB. We would invite all of the counterparties on the 7th of April, which mimics our go live date for the purpose of test 13, to try and access the ECMS on the morning and confirm that you have access. So this is what we would request of you for test 13. Lastly, on the last slide, we have something that is very usual here as well, is just these important reminders. It's important that you respect the execution of the migration in prod and test activities by only executing activities requested from you, executing the activities at the time requested, and respecting the environment availability. So do not try to access ECMS test during the migration test, because this is not asked of you. Do not try to, execute any other activities like trying a mobilization in prod. This is not expected. This may have side effects that then we would need to deal with prior or post go live. So specifically in prod and even for the test, this may cause other issues. So really respect this availability and the activities that are requested of you. And I think this was the end of the presentation. So I don't know if Eileen or Bobby will come in now.
Thank you, Anissa. There was a lot of content, a lot of slides. We're just going to, put the question slide up here for a second. Again, you can raise your hand, but we cannot bring you in verbally in the session, because then we will mimic a whole migration weekend. Like Anissa says, we will be here until Sunday if we start open up for full discussion. So please submit your questions via the QR code or via email. There's a few questions in there for you as well, Anissa, but I'll just let you look at them a little bit. I think you answered most of them, and some of them are maybe more for the NCBs. So I want to just bring Bobby in and Bamini for a few minutes to handle a few other questions that have come in. Bobby, over to you.
Yeah, Ellen, I think she took quite a lot of them actually, but while she's checking, we can, Bamini has a question about our last OMO campaign.
Yeah, indeed. There was a question related to the issues that was faced in the last campaign, whether it will be handled for the next campaign or for the go live. Yes, of course. Yeah. Just to answer quickly, I mean, I see you, the person's colleague has mentioned about the FTDs. Yes, indeed, we faced a technical issue, but then that was already fixed during this time. And then we were able to send a new set of FTDs already, and that was successful. So that issue, the technical issue has already been handled. But the other aspects that you had mentioned with respect to the interest calculation, yes. Yeah, so we will look into all the issues that comes out of this campaign and definitely process it and assess the criticality, and we'll definitely try to will fix it before the next campaign and for sure before the go live. And here I also, I mean, if you want to express the criticality, please go ahead and explain this to your national central bank, just so we don't miss anything. Okay, but rest assured, we definitely do this assessment at our side and ensure it's all fixed before the next campaign. Yeah, so that's on the OMO, and then we have
there was also a question about the open market operations on the 13th of June. For this one, please liaise with your NCB, because on the 13th of June, we're still in the old CMS. So please liaise with your NCB to see if there are cutoff times. And Isa already spoke about the cutoffs related to marketable assets. But for all of these, you'll have to check with your NCB. What was in Anna-Isa's presentation and what was very important were the 2 points about the credit claim identifiers and the point about the pending instructions. I would ask you to please go back and to look at this and to see if you will be affected or to be ready perhaps to be affected by these, because these are two issues that if you are aware of them, everything will be fine. But on the go live day, they could be a cause of anxiety if you see a deleted transaction before the go live, or if you see the credit claim identifier having been changed. These could cause anxiety. So please, everyone, go back through the slides and check this if it has an effect on your side. There was one participant who said we were speaking too fast. I'm very sorry about that. Ireland and India are two countries where the people speak very fast. So I'm sorry, but I would ask you to take advantage of the recording and go back and see what you've missed. Also, there is a question about access to validating the GUI, U2A user access to production. Please do that this week. Please make sure to check your access to the production system this week, on the U2A side in the GUI. And if you're a user, if you can access the system, this is very important. And then finally, there was, for us at least, there was a question about the cutoffs for the fundamental test cases. Now, we mentioned that today is a cutoff for fundamental test cases. There are some NCBs who extended it. So please, the NCB is the certifying authority, if you like. So if your NCB has given you a later cutoff date, then this is the case. They have perhaps not, they have not as many participants and they can take extra bit of time to do it, or perhaps they have enough staff to be able to give such an extension. So please check. But I believe many of you, your cutoff is today, but some NCBs will have given a further deadline into April. So this is also okay. So in short, liaise with your NCB, as Anna-Isa also said about your participation in the Go Live weekend. It will be very much what your NCB requires. Some of you might not need to log in until Monday morning. Others will follow the whole weekend. This is completely down to your own individual requirements and to the requirements of your NCB. That's it, I think, Ellen, and maybe Anna-Isa wants to answer a couple of questions.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Bobby. So now Anissa had a few seconds to just quickly look if there's anything you missed, but so we'll bring you back in. I think you answered a lot already, but
yes.
Is there a few we missed? Go ahead.
No, but it's fine. I mean, sometimes we structure the information also how it looks better to us, and it might not be 100% clear for other people. So the questions are always good. So I'll try to group them into the categories we got. So we got some questions, and I think Bobby also repeated these now. When could you test your login to the production environment, or when is the deadline to validate your counterparty access? This is by Friday next week, the 28th of March. This is the limit. Go into the ECMS, test your U2A access. You can do this for all of the users that you have. They can all access ECMS in production and test their access. This is quite important, but at least that one of your users has access so that you can, execute your operation starting on Monday. So the deadline is next week, the 28th of March. For all of these testing connectivity, testing access, attributing access rights to your users, creating new users, 28th of March is the deadline. Then there was a question, I think there's a couple of questions about the penny test and about the activities for you during the migration. As I mentioned, now you have the slides and you will have the slides. So it has all of the detailed steps that you need to do, at least overall from the plan. but the best is to liaise with your NCB if you have doubts on what is required of you during the migration weekend, because as we mentioned, there could be some things that your NCB asks of you on a national level, like the cutoffs, or it could be like demobilizing a corporate action, marketable asset that has a corporate action event attributed to it, or even the participation in the penny test. So this is with your NCB. They should guide you on what they need of you during this period. Nevertheless, then who participates on the penny test, which users of your counterparty, I guess it depends on the penny test that you will be asked of your NCB. If it's just a user access, I guess it could be any user access. So it could be a business partner or not. If it's a more complex penny test, like trying to execute a mobilization of a marketable asset, then I'm sure that you will need your business partners, users to execute this. So it will depend who can do it or not. And I'm trying to read them back. Can you check in on Sunday? Again, depends on what your NCB requests of you. If your NCB gives you the green light to access ECMS on Sunday, then you can do it, and then you would be able to check the migrated positions. You would be able to check the new credit claim ID. You could be able to check all of these because we would have finished the migration before the penny test starts. So you would see the environment as you will see it on Monday morning. Otherwise, if your NCB does not provide you the green light, then you have to wait until Monday morning to do so. Okay, so it depends again on what your NCB will request of you. Then there was very specific questions. Will the collateral positions be migrated into all ECMS pools? Yes, the NCB will migrate everything that is required as they have in their local CMS or their other systems into ECMS, if that's the case. So if you have other pools besides the monetary policy pool, the regular pool, your NCB will also be migrating that. So I hope that's clear. Will our fixed credit line be migrated? It is connected to CLM in T2S, but it's managed today in a different application. We are not clear about this migration part. So ECMS does not really deal with fixed credit lines. As you may know, we have adjustable credit lines, floating credit lines, I'm forgetting the name. So they will adjust as your collateral positions are adjusted, but there is this maximum credit line. So NCBs will also migrate the maximum credit line, if that's the case for you as a counterparty. And this will all be taken care of during the weekend. So we do have the calculation of the credit lines, and we will be sending to CLM, again, the correct value of the credit line based on the ECMS calculation. So even if it's currently managed at a different system, this will be managed by the ECMS moving forward, at least for the monetary policy. And so this will be calculated by the ECMS based on what your NCB migrates. And then the ECMS will communicate the value to CLM. It might even be the same value that is already there, but the ECMS will still communicate this just to make sure that both the ECMS and the CLM are aligned. And so you would have your credit line available from that moment onwards in T2S. Then there was one more specific, and I hope I still have a bit of time. Sorry, Eileen, that I'm taking too long, but these are very good questions. Will there be cutoff times for OMO transactions? I think Bobby covered this a little bit, but to be a bit more specific, usually we don't have regular open market operations, triggered by the Eurosystem on a Friday. But of course, the credit positions will be migrated. So if you had, for example, had a bid that was allotted for a main refinancing operation on Wednesday and settled on Wednesday, this is a credit position in your local CMS that the NCB will migrate to your counterparty during the weekend. We don't expect to have operations triggered on Friday because the calendarized operations do not work like that. And you have the calendar in the ECB website if you want to look at it. So there shouldn't be any migration of operations not yet settled. But if it happens, it can also be done. And of course, in terms of marginal lending, they are not migrated to the ECMS because they are reimbursed at the end of the day. and this will happen in CLM before the switch to the ECMS. So there is nothing to migrate in terms of marginal lending on request to the ECMS. And of course, same as for future instructions of collateral, future instructions of marginal lending, if this is possible currently in your local CMS, will not be able to be migrated to the ECMS. So you will just need to re-instruct again in ECMS as of Monday. So I think I covered the majority of the questions, and I hope this is now.
I think you did. I think
clear.
you did, Anna-Lisa. They were excellent. No, so thanks everybody for all the questions. You keep taking in, but this is super good. I think we've covered almost everything here. And remember, as Anissa just said, we will be publishing all the slides. The full recording will go on the website. So there will be a lot of material that you can use for the next month ahead. So there's a lot of material there. So I just want to again thank Anissa for this marathon presentation, and then it's almost time to finish from us. We will bring Dimitri back. He's still with us, so I'm happy for that. But I also just want to do a little plea to everybody that you scan the QR code that is on the closing slide here now. This is the feedback. It will help us optimize the sessions. So was it what you expected? What would you like changed? And so forth. So just scan the QR code so you have those after Dimitri. So Dimitri, over to you. Thank you.
So I see. Did you hear me well, Ellen, or yeah?
Go ahead.
Do you hear me well? Sorry.
I hear you perfectly well.
Okay, good. Okay, so I see now that we rely heavily on QR codes, which is good. No joke aside. Well, this was a very, very good focus sessions. In terms of attendance, I followed a bit and I noticed that we had a good steady 700 people connected, which is not bad. At the beginning, Elaine, you and I, we insisted on the interactivity, and I think we saw quite a number of questions. I hope that if not all, we managed to answer or to tackle most of them, and this went very smoothly, I feel, during the presentation. Just to sum up, so today we started with Audreyne, who covered the main paths and upcoming milestones. And just to recall, central bank testing is now completed, and the shift, the focus has now shifted fully to the readiness for the go live on the 16th of June again. The software will be frozen, and as explained, we may still bring a few fixes in the software, but that will be very limited in the coming weeks. Community testing is progressing well. If you still have to increase your coverage, there is still time, but not much. In principle, you still have 4 weeks until the 22nd of April. Then we move to testing, and Bobby and Bamini gave us quite a detailed update on the various ECMS functional domains, and also on the testing campaigns. I will not recall everything, but we had open market operations, multi-pooling, Econs 2, the live timing that starts on the 7th of April as well. So that was quite detailed information, but useful. One specific point, Bamini reminded us on the need to complete the fundamental test cases. This is actually now that this needs to be completed. The information that you will provide the national central banks will be processed and delivered in a consolidated manner to the MIB early April. Another important point, there was one slide with a link to the key documents of testing. So don't hesitate, go on the website and you will find those links quite easily. Then we move to, I guess one of the most important topics now has become migration. So Anna started with the production. Now we start with testing. So on testing, we explained the organization and the testing of the coming migration test, so MT13. It starts on the 31st of March, so in 10 days. As explained, we also have an option to activate another test, MT14, early May, but we are at the conjuncture hopeful that we don't need that, so we have a slot, and after MT13, we will see whether we activate it or not. And then a lot of time spent on production. So we are now 1 week ahead of the end of the phase 2 of the pre-migration. This boils down to securing your connectivity, completing the user setup, and verifying that the data is correct. And then Anna-Lisa covered actually the last 2 steps of the now famous 7 steps for the migration. These steps cover the last 2 weeks before the migration weekend and then the migration weekend. I felt sometimes, Anna-Lisa, this was a bit a crunch course, but this is fine. I will not repeat everything, but all the slides are available again. And of course, if you need more information, you can also reach out to your service desk to get some help there. And then to conclude, again, we are well on track for the delivery. So we are very confident that the coming 2.5 months will be good and will lead us to a smooth launch of ECMS. I say we because it's not only the Eurosystem, it's also you. Again, on the Eurosystem side, focus on migration and readiness for operations. On your side, still for a few weeks, readiness for testing. And really to conclude now, a big thank to Audrey, Bamini, Anna-Lisa, and of course, Bobby for their interventions. That was really good. Thank you for that. And also, Eileen, there is no such event without a good backstage team. So thank you again. We changed the technology, but it went very smoothly. So that's a good outcome. And to everyone attending today, thanks a lot for your participation. I hope that you found this session useful. And I hope that it helps you preparing well for the launch of ECMS again in 2.5 months now. I'm left now with wishing you a good day and a good weekend. The weather forecast here in Frankfurt is not bad, and I hope it's the same for you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dimitri. Excellent. Exactly. Beautiful sunshine we're heading in. So maybe everyone should just do a circle around the building wherever you are after sitting down. Thank you to everybody. Please fill in the feedback so we know what you liked, what you disliked about this event. And again, I just want to make also, put the focus on how do you follow us? You follow us one of these ways. Either you subscribe to our newsletter, you can follow the LinkedIn group. If you do one of this, you will be the first one to get any information we push out there. Anything from the 16th of May, go, no go, until the completed go live on the 16th of June. So everything we push here. So this is the best place to follow us. And with that, I just want to encourage you to fill in the survey of today's event. And thank you all for joining us. Wishing you a nice weekend when you get there. Thank you so much.